Welcome back to the Cowpart Bros podcast. Jason and I are fresh off segment one, where we discuss the standoff between flat earther aficionado Kyrie Irving and his employer, surrounded by a bunch of other people and their employer. Difference is Kyrie gonna get 19 mil. What y'all gonna get?
That'll be nothing.
Big fat zero burger. I don't even know if unemployment is covered.
It is not.
Tisk tisk. All right. Segment two, we're going to be talking about corporate name changes and whether or not they worked. And the main reason we brought this up is because we found out this week that Facebook is going to be changing their name, apparently. Let's see. Facebook name change here in Presto Changeo. There you go. All right. Referencing article on CNN by Charles Riley. Facebook planning to change its name, report says. Facebook is planning to rebrand itself with a new name focused on the Metaverse. The Verge reported on Tuesday as the tech giant comes under fire from regulators over the world over its business practices. The company plans to announce a new name next week, citing a source with direct knowledge of the matter. Facebook wants to be known for more than social media, according to the tech publication. In addition to the flagship social media network, Facebook also owns Instagram and WhatsApp. The name change could position the three mega platforms under an umbrella brand similar to a structure used by Google, which sits under parent company Alphabet. The name change may reflect Facebook's direction. The Metaverse refers to efforts to combine virtual and augmented reality technologies in a new online realm. This really sounds like Dave Chappelle's skit, If the Internet Was a Place. And why, yes, folks, I have referenced that bit in multiple episodes because it's hilarious. Jason, what are your thoughts on the Metaverse?
Okay, so they haven't said yet. I haven't seen what their name is going to be. They haven't announced that. Supposedly that announcement was coming this week sometime.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, related to the Metaverse. So I can't help when I hear that automatically think about superheroes, DC Comics, the Metaverse, the Flash, stuff like that. I'm like, it just sounds so corny the way they say that. I'm sure they mean well. I'm interested to see what the name is. Hopefully they don't call it the Metaverse, but also it's very curious though the timing of this. I had to imagine they had this. Right. Yeah, I had to imagine they had this in the works before. But you know what? If they didn't, I'd believe it. But there seems to be if the timing of it makes it seem like they're doing this with the idea of branding and changing their image, which I probably is not going to work. I say that probably. I'm not a business insider, obviously, but I don't think people are going to forget. You wouldn't think, but there are other examples out there that we're probably going to talk about to where a name change perhaps can make people forget. But yeah, with the timing for Facebook, with all the reports coming out about that we talked about before in a previous episode with Frances Haugen and all the stuff that she said about Facebook and all the other reports when it comes to human trafficking, inciting violence in other countries, things like that. Yeah, they definitely. I agree. They probably need a little image change right now. I just hope they have a better business plan for that beyond just the name change and the Metaverse, which sound like a totally stolen name from DC Comics, frankly. But we won't talk about that. But what do you think?
I mean, why can't it be Marvel?
Well, when I hear the term meta, I just know I watched the Flash TV show that comes on the CW, and they talk about metas all the time on that. And I'm pretty sure I heard them say Metaverse once or twice. So that's why when I heard Facebook say that, I'm like, wait a minute, can they use that? Which They might. So we'll see. I'm sure that might be a legal battle. Maybe, who knows? I'm sure DC Comics might say, "Hey, we should partner on this," and maybe there's their image helper right there. Who knows? But yeah, that's why I said DC. Obviously, we have the Marvel universe, which is similar, but still, Metaverse. I think of DC Comics and the Flash.
Oh man, it's all good. Just because I never got into that show doesn't mean that it's not great. I
And that's
mean,
why I question our friendship.
listen, I waited like a good damn 4 or 5 years for The Sopranos to go off air before I binge watched it. It's a
Still never
top three
seen it.
show. It's top three show. Well,
Never seen it.
that might be a reflection upon you and our friendship. So neither here nor there. No, man, I think no, they probably had this shit planned like months, if not years in advance. I think article even says that they're going to announce this on the 28th
Oh,
of October.
nice.
So
Thursday.
yeah, so I think ironically, after all is said and done, when the whistleblower comes out, the hit to the share price going to be minimal because ultimately this boat is so goddamn big, it's not going to matter. Also, I don't consider a lot of what Francis Haugen put out there to be like, oh my god, that's a revelation. I'm like, of course, they're adjusting the rules on the fly.
I think the shock is for people just hearing somebody who works there actually say it, confirm it. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I agree with you. Whatever she said isn't shocking itself, but I think the fact that it's coming from somebody who works there, it's like, oh well, there you go.
Yep. Now, aside from the fact that this name change might be lame, it also got me to thinking about name changes that actually worked for companies and the ones definitely didn't work. What are some name changes that you've heard of, like certain brands or certain entities that actually like helped out a company, either during a time of crisis or a time or of not being relevant? Are there any you can think of, Jason?
Well, not necessarily from a place of the company prior to the name change was irrelevant, but a lot of name changes that happened to companies who had some established to them, but they changed it for their own reasons, and I think it, in some ways, either internally or externally, helped them. The first one that came to my mind, from a personal standpoint, was the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh yeah.
As many fans remember, for a long time they were known as the World Wrestling Federation, or WWF. Well, they they had a legal agreement with the World Wildlife Fund when it comes to their limited WWE's limited use of WWF during that time frame. Well, apparently they overstepped their bounds, got sued for it back in '94, and I believe it was '94, and that's what kind of led them to change it. Say, hey, we need to change it to something else. So they decided on WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, and I think that was good for two reasons. Because when they first made that change, their marketing slogan for that was "Get the F out." Right, exactly. See, exactly. It was perfect. It makes sense for wrestling. Get the F out. They got the F out of the name, WWE. And then also, Vince McMahon, the CEO and president of World Wrestling Entertainment, always, according to his words and other reports, he always looked at the business as entertainment as opposed to sports. So changing it to WWE Entertainment made perfect sense for their company. And I think anybody who's been watching the show the last 10 years plus would agree that they're more of an entertainment show as opposed to sports or anything else. So that's that. Another big one, KFC. You and I growing up, Terrence, it wasn't called KFC. We might have called it KFC, but the company's name was Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, jokingly, yesterday in our meeting, I mentioned they changed it because they, said they used genetically modified or altered chicken. That's, again, joking. That actually was a rumor, wasn't true. But according to KFC, they wanted to change their name to get the fried out of their name because they feel like fried was looked at as an unhealthy thing. Now, they're probably right, but the name change, nobody was not going there because the name. Right. But the fact that they're KFC, it made sense because, like I said, everyone would call it KFC anyway. I remember distinctly calling it KFC because nobody wanted to say Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I think that name change makes sense. It worked for what they were trying to do. I don't necessarily think fried chicken. Obviously, they have more than that now. People still go there because if you're going to get KFC, you don't care it's fried. You want that anyway, right? Um, two other ones, and I'm gonna let you jump in. Dunkin' Donuts. I said this yesterday that previously they were just called Dunkin'. From an awareness standpoint, if you didn't know, you would wonder, well, what the hell's Dunkin'? What is that? But now you say Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, Dunkin' Donuts! You guys have donuts? Let me go there because everybody loves donuts. So I think that name change was just perfect from an awareness standpoint. Lets people know, hey, what do we have? It's Dunkin' Donuts. Obviously, they have way
Right.
more than that now.
Right, but was it Dunkin' and they changed it to Dunkin' Donuts, or was it Dunkin' Donuts and they shortened it? Because typically, what we're seeing is a contraction as
Mhm.
these brands evolve over time.
Exactly. No, they were Dunkin', and then went changed to Dunkin' Donuts. Last one, Starbucks. Speaking of contraction, they were formerly Starbucks Coffee, Tea, and Spices, or something like that. And as I say to you all the time, when it comes to show titles, episode titles, it's too long.
Right.
Starbucks Coffee, Tea, and
I
Spices is too long. Shut up. Just shut up. But yeah, so they shortened it to Starbucks, and it makes sense because everybody knows Starbucks by first name. It's a real quick 2 syllable thing. I'm going to get some Starbucks. As soon as you hear that, you automatically assume what? Coffee. You don't need to throw coffee and tea and stuff in the name. When you hear Starbucks, people automatically know what you're going to get, right? So I feel like those name changes, which weren't fully changes per se, just shortenings in a way, other than WWE. But I think that helped a lot, in my opinion. But what you got, Terrence?
Well, the first one I thought about was uh, Comcast changing up its name to Xfinity. 10 years ago. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, because honestly, for a long time, I didn't know they had changed because, like you were going to say, when I lived in Chicago, they might have been a thing, but when I moved to Southern Illinois, Comcast wasn't a thing down there. And it wasn't until I moved to Central Illinois and other places in different states is when I realized, oh, Comcast and Xfinity are a thing now. Okay, didn't know that. So yeah, didn't mean to cut you
Yeah,
off.
basic. No, that's important. Um, Basically, Comcast, like 15 years ago, you know, and I get it. You have these umbrella parent brands and what have you, but basically, Comcast name was dirt in these streets from like a customer service perspective. Um, but then you kind of see as Comcast got bigger, they kind of did a little bit of a rebranding where they said, "Hey, we're just going to sell these services. The TV, the home, the internet, um, under the name Xfinity." And that seems to kind of done away with a lot of the things that people swore they hated about cable. And then to top that off, in the middle of COVID, they made all of those Wi-Fi hotspots basically free for underprivileged students that probably didn't have internet at home, but because everyone was doing remote learning, they needed to have access. So definitely did their brand a ton of favors. Trying to think, what are some other ones? Because I feel like you rattled a ton off. All right, we already covered the Facebook one. What other one did I want to bring up?
I do have a correction,
What do you got?
or rather, in addition.
Hmm.
I mentioned Dunkin' and the donuts part.
Yeah.
One thing I've forgotten about too, is that apparently they have a sister brand, Baskin Robbins, who were acquired by Inspire Brands, which also owns Arby's and Buffalo Wild Wings. Um, Even though we're talking about name changes, I think that's also important as well. Um, yeah, I thought that was pretty awesome. I figured I'd help you out there with, while you found the other one that you're looking for there. But yeah, there's some good ones out there that actually change names, even so slightly and stuff like that too. Um, I had a couple articles up that went down on me. Uh, Mine out of the gutter, please. But come on, you're supposed to laugh at that. That was a total you joke. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
You're losing me, man. You're losing me.
No, I think one thing I was going to mention, another one that we didn't even bring up, Weight Watchers.
You know, I saw that. I saw that. I never really knew that they even made a change. So that's interesting. I kind of wonder why they did that though. Because
Well, well, I can tell you why, as
please do.
somebody that identifies as a big fine. Though, and not to mention, I got the USA article up here right now. After 55 years in business as Weight Watchers, a weight management services company changed its name to WW. They should have just had that be BBW in 2018. That's a shame. That's a missed opportunity, kids. Anyways, the change was part of a rebranding effort designed to keep the company competitive as cultural norms around weight loss began to change. Namely, dieting has become taboo in favor of personal wellness and body positivity. The rebranding appears to have been effective to some degree as the company's share price has climbed over 25% in the last year. So that's why.
Not that it necessarily benefited the company or anything. Do you happen to remember the former name of Netflix? What it was called before it was Netflix?
Quickster.
I had forgotten that. I'd literally forgotten that. That because for 10 years now they've been Netflix. I completely forgot about Quickster and even Subway. Um, I had forgotten Subway had been around since 1968 for 75 years or whatever they say now. But apparently, because before they were called Pete's Super Submarines. I'd probably say Subway's a little better. Um, yeah, I made that change back in 1968. So that's why I don't remember that, Terrence. I wasn't alive. You might have been, but I wasn't.
We're both 80 babies, dude. What are you doing?
I was just saying because you're old.
Yeah, I am. Um, yeah, the Quickster one was wild too because they had already built a brand on the Netflix name. So for them to try and basically cut it in half and say, "Oh, we're going to give the DVD mailing service," which they were still they were still making a shit ton of money off of that, by the way. Years after that, why fuck with the name?
In 2011, having already announced a 60%. Oh, this is an article from USA Today. But in 2011, having already announced a 60% price hike that infuriated customers, Netflix Inc. introduced Quickster. The plan, part of Netflix's attempt to separate its streaming video service from its DVD mailing service, was an instant flop. Customers agreed not just that higher cost, but also the inconvenience of two separate websites and two separate bills. The Quickster decision lasted just a few weeks. In a 2011 conference call, CEO Red Hastings said the Quickster plan, in hindsight, is just hard to justify. He also added Quickster became the symbol of Netflix not listening. Well, there you
Yeah, the
go.
motherfuckers was hard headed. That's all.
Yeah, I forgot all about that, bro. Wow. I honestly, I partially forgot that Netflix was the mailing service as far as mailing your movies to you. I forgotten
Yeah.
about that. So, because
Yep.
yeah, yeah, streaming definitely took over when it comes to that, and probably the smartest thing ever. So, so much more convenient.
Yeah. In some ways,
Well,
it's
because
it's
I think you even
let,
had a
let me.
limit. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's convenient unless they pull the shit off the streaming site because you'll notice a lot of times, like unless it's original content, it's going to be evergreen, which means the shit's always going to stay there. Now, prime example, somebody worked out a deal where Friends was going to be on Netflix for X amount of time. You'll see it with certain movies, and because all they're cutting up all these deals with all of these different companies that own the intellectual property, That means there's an expiration date on the shit. Now, ironically, this is a quintessential first world problem because if you truly cared about the content, guess what? You'll just buy the shit.
Yeah, but who wants to do that these days?
I mean, I think that's a big debate for a lot of folks, especially those of us who actually still like physical media, is feeling like they don't want to lose access to it. And I mean, you can smirk with me all you want, and I don't even give a shit about that. What I'm saying is the concern that, oh, well, I hate that this this content is no longer available. I'm like, yeah, but your ass was renting the shit anyway. Yep, your ass was on the enterprise rent-a-car program.
I feel like they had a name change too. I could be wrong.
Just make sure you're not confusing them with Hertz.
I could be, but I wasn't smirking at you. But like make fun of what you're saying. Well, sort of. But when you already said, people who enjoy that physical media, a certain song popped in my head by Olivia Newton-John. Let's
You
get
need
physical, physical. So yeah, you know it. So sorry, that's why I was smirking, not anything you said in
that was the
particular.
jam.
But yeah,
I'm not
so
even gonna lie, that's the jam. We love Olivia Newton-John here on the
I,
Cal Park Bros podcast.
I immediately pictured that song like a commercial, you in a Netflix commercial, old school, getting a thing in the mail with that song playing in the background. Let's get physical, physical, and you sit down with a big smile on your face to watch the movie that you just got in the mail. Sorry, that's funny.
Jesus Christ, Lord help us all. So yeah, man, that's pretty much, you know, we hope that these name changes work out for Facebook and the metaverse. It definitely it's a 50-50 ball as far as I can tell, because it doesn't work out for every company. We can see literally $1 million, $1 billion enterprises manage to fuck this up. Talk about not being able to read a room, dog.
Well, like you said, Netflix wasn't listening. So there you go. It happens.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll keep an eye out on these Facebook name changes and some more corporate name changes that could be in the works in the months and years to come. And that
Terrence,
concludes our second segment.
I think we should make a name
Yo,
change. Are we going? Should we do a name change here on the Cal Park Bros? I think we
I'm
need
not
to
changing
discuss.
my name. What the fuck are you talking about?
I think we need to discuss it. Do we need a new name for the podcast?
You would ask me some shit like that after we just paid for the logo.
You're not listening to me. I'm just playing.
Oh my god. That concludes our second segment on corporate name changes. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the NBA 75th anniversary team and how much people are pissed off about that. Coming up next on Cal Park Bros.